Morning, everyone. Thank you for joining us. My name's Sharon Walpole and I'm from Career Map. I'll be hosting today's National Work Experience Week with SCL. Here they come. This session will be hosted by Victoria, Blake and Sean from the SCL team. This webinar will be showcasing how you can make a career out of sports in ways you may not have ever considered. Before we begin, you'll see there's a chat box for you to ask questions. Hi, James and Dom. We'll be gathering up all your questions. Some will be answered and some links will be dropped in the box. And this presentation will be followed by a Q&A where we'll get to answer all the questions that you have. This session and all of National Career Week's live events are being recorded and will be available on demand so you can watch again and share. I'll drop the link in the chat shortly. But I will leave our team at SCL to carry on and tell you about the exciting opportunities that they have. Nice to see you, everyone, this morning.
Thanks for that lovely introduction, Sharon. Hi, everybody. Thank you for joining us bright and early on this Thursday morning. My name's Vic and I'm the Group Careers Leader at SCL. So we're going to take you through today some of the opportunities that we've got. I'm going to talk to you about kind of careers in sport in general, and then I'm going to bring in my colleagues Blake and Sean to tell you a little bit more detail about different things that we can do for you. So please do ask any questions at all that you have by using the chat box. As Sharon said, there's no such thing as a silly question other than the ones that you want to know the answers to and don't ask. So please do ask away, and I'm sure between the three of us we'll be able to answer. So presumably you've signed up for this webinar because you love sport or you're interested in sport and you're wanting to think about how you could make that your career. There are different schools of thought on whether making your hobby into your job is a good idea. It doesn't suit everybody, but for lots of people, going for a job or creating a career based around something that you already love and are really passionate about leads to a really satisfying career path. So there are lots of different ways that you can make sport into your career, and I'm going to talk you through those a little bit now. So you may think, or you may have had people tell you that if a career in sport, that just means being a professional footballer or a professional athlete, and that, as we know, is a small proportion of people make it to make the really, really big money and, you know, the fame and fortune and working with premiership clubs. It is a small proportion. Somebody's got to do it. So if that's something that you really, really want to go for, then go for it. Do go for it. And that's something that we encourage our learners to do at SCL. We'll talk about that a little bit more detail later. But a lot of our learners are playing for professional clubs and they're getting a qualification at the same time. So that is a possibility. You know, those jobs are out there. And if you have the talent and you get the right opportunities, then you can make that happen. However, even if you are one of those people, you're the next Marcus Rashford, you make it in professional sport, it's not a career that's going to last until you're 60 or 70. You're not going to be able to play professional sport usually past the age of about 40. So even if you are one of those who make it, you won't be able to do that for the whole of your working life. So we need to look more broadly at what kind of opportunities there are in sport. So these kind of areas here talk you through the sorts of kind of categories of different careers in sport that you could pursue. So if we look at sport in the top right first, so you could start as a player. A lot of people that we work with start wanting to be a football player, cricket player, rugby player, or work in another professional sport. You can look at coaching. So that's definitely a big thing that we do here and would kind of be the focus as a lot of the work experience opportunities we have. So coaching is either working with elite athletes or with children, which is where a lot of people start. Really rewarding role. So that's coaching people. Scouts are the people who go out and see who is going to be next for their team. And that's usually experienced players or experienced coaches who progress into that. There are also some other really interesting areas of kind of practical sport that that you might not have thought of. So things like sport psychology, sport rehabilitation, which is kind of a bit like physiotherapy, but specifically for sport therapy, sport nutrition, and performance analysis. So those are areas of sport where you are interested in playing, but you find that maybe you don't want to make that your career, or if you don't make it, despite trying. There are loads of really interesting careers that can be had using your knowledge and understanding of sport to help other people. So those are kind of some of the practical areas of working in sport. Then I'll come over to kind of departmental roles. So if we're thinking about this, like if you think about a sports stadium, you've kind of got all the practical stuff. Then you've got the things that make a sport business run. So one of the questions that we've got in the chat is, what type of business roles can you do in sport? Actually, pretty much any business role, because sport is huge business, both in the UK and internationally. So every sporting organisation, whether that's a professional cricket club, or whether that's a grassroots organisation, or whether that's a big sport therapy institution, the business roles to make that happen are the same as in any business. So you don't necessarily even have to have a background in sport to do those. So that's roles in like human resources. So that's working, kind of hiring the right people for a business. A lot of people work in social media because that's how marketing happens. That's how people find out about what's happening in a business. So there's a lot of roles in kind of social media, running Twitter, Instagram, LinkedIn, Facebook accounts for businesses. That's quite a big area. Also things like sport photography and blog writing, and the people who write the match reports. So there's all of those kind of roles as well as things like finance, business administration, kind of management roles. There are things like that all happen in sport businesses, just as they would in any kind of accountancy business or an IT business or a construction business. So those types of jobs are kind of universal. So you don't have to have a background in sport. You might have the edge if you're applying for a job in a sport business, say for a business administration role. You might have a bit more of an advantage if you've passionate about sport, you play sport, you've done PE, GCSE, or you've done a level 3 qualification somewhere like SCL in sport. Then we've got sort of front of house. So again, if you think about a sports stadium, all the people that kind of meet and greet you, make that a really nice experience. So things like customer service, so the people who take your tickets, hospitality, so those people who's like serving drinks and food, events management. So if you think about any sports club, very often they'll host conferences, weddings, events. There are people who are in charge of that, and that's an events management role. So again, you wouldn't have to have a background in sport to do that. But again, if you're going to go and work at a sports stadium, then a background in sport would be something that would give you the edge over somebody who didn't. Then there's things like groundskeeping. You know, that beautiful grass doesn't stay like that on its own. There are people responsible for that, and it's actually a really involved job, understanding how to make that happen. And then you've got things like security. A lot of our learners kind of have part-time jobs, working kind of in security and health and safety at sports stadiums as a part-time thing. Then that brings us to community and education, which is a really exciting area of sport, and where the part of our business that we're talking about today, which is SCL Active, this is the environment that we work in. So lots and lots of people have hugely satisfying careers using their love of sport to inspire the next generation. So community and education in sport is about using the power of sport to engage people, to increase people's well-being, to teach people. So sometimes people go into PE teaching, for instance, but also into working with children and inspiring them in sport. And that's kind of one of the key areas that we're going to talk about in a little bit more depth. So I'm going to hand over to my wonderful colleague, Blake, who's in charge of our SCL Active business. And he's going to talk to you a little bit more about how that part of the organisation works. Over to you, Blake.
Thanks, Victoria. Morning, everybody. I hope you're okay. I'm Blake Fletcher, Operations Director for SCL Active as a whole. So just in terms of just shaping SCL Active as a business, as an intro. So in terms of what we do, who we are, and why we exist, the long and short of it is that we're a wraparound childcare provider. We provide sports and children's activities into a variety of settings, and we also help with some community development and youth work as well around those areas, particularly going into holiday camps and focusing on some other key areas. So in terms of why do we exist, we have gone out with a new value proposition, and at SCL Active we're all about creating amazing experiences around how we deliver those. So the activity experts who create engaging experiences for children to have fun, learn more, and of course move more. And how do we do that? So we deliver that for our value proposition against three key areas, which is have fun, learn more, move more, and delivering that through some of our experiences and holiday themes. So you can see just across the top we have Active Heroes, which has just taken part in February half term. We've just had Active Nature, which has just taken part in Easter. And then coming up to May half term, we have Active Adventure. And these are focusing on our key holiday camp deliveries that we'll be doing across a variety of venues in the south of England. How we actually bring the fun, learn, move to life through our themes is delivered through our service signatures. So in terms of how we bring that to life, potentially yourselves as individuals, we deliver that around active experiences through amazing opportunities and developments. The first part of that is active welcome, how we meet and greet our children, our parents, our school co-workers, our community partners, everybody. How do we create those amazing experiences from day one? And then the second part of that is actually children's development leading into active reward. So learning more, how do we reward that amazing behavior and those experiences that we create? And that might be through rewarding behavior, through having that connection with that child, or actually giving them something tangible that you can give them to take away, which can be a certificate or a trophy. And then in terms of move more, we also have active communication, which actually helps us engage with our wider community, parents, schools, and other facilities that we work with within this space, including our leisure providers and also the SCL Education Group. There's something that we're also working on in terms of an active families booklet, which will bring this more to life, and how you could be an amazing part of that by changing people's lives and also creating that amazing well-being and active experience is what we're all about. So in terms of what we do, I've explained who we are, why we exist. We have some amazing roles and opportunities as well within our business, and this, as I said at the start, is predominantly around wraparound childcare, delivering experiences within the childcare environment, but also delivering activities through sport and also our holiday camp provisions. So if I touch on the wraparound childcare as a starting point, you can play a key role and a key part as an activities experience assistant, supporting our breakfast club and after school club care through amazing ways of how you can shape children's development through activities that you can help create with our leaders within our business to help shape their movement around them long-term development. And bear in mind, when you work with children, this is an amazing opportunity to help them develop long-term, and you can be part of that amazing experience. So moving on to the breakfast and after school club sports activities team leader, you could then aspire to manage a team of people creating these amazing experiences with children through arts and crafts, through play work, through even taking them out to sports activities, and help shape, have that fun with that child and inspire them to go on to their next development within their career. Then, of course, we also deliver some amazing sports activities within here, and that's delivered through our sports coach provision. So whether it's football, tennis, Nerf wars, We do a whole variety of different activities that will engage, excite children, but equally as well, help support them with their long-term development. So when I talked about Fun, Learn, Move, we're one of the only children's activities provider in this space where we can actually deliver against the key areas of curriculum for children learning, and we're proud to be part of that. Once you've had a taste of that, you may inspire yourself to actually become part of the management team, and that might be becoming part of an assistant regional manager role, right through up to a regional business manager role. There's no reason why that you can't progress with a career, for example, with SCL Active, when you really enjoy our family experience, but more importantly, you become part of that children's development, focus within our community, and equally support the legacy that we want to leave within a community.
And this is me, is it?
Over to you, Sean.
Hi, good morning, everybody. My name's Sean Norton. I'm head of commercial for the SCL Education Group, predominantly focusing in the education and sports space. So what I'm going to talk about is really reiterate what Blake's just said and the amazing opportunities that SCL can offer as a business, because what our main goal is to really support people from all ages, whether that be a young, engaged child who's attending one of our fantastic sessions set up by SCL Active, or actually they're 16 starting on one of our education pathways, or even further, they're 30, 40 years old completing a management course with us using the power and principles of sport to really develop their vocational skills within a day-to-day role. So SCL as a group, our SCL education pathway delivers to 3,600 students a curriculum suited to them, linked to professional sports clubs, whether that be a sporting pathway, a kind of elite pathway that Vic mentioned earlier on, that you're passionate and you've got talent and you want to play football, whether that be, actually, I just love football or cricket or rugby or whatever it may be, and I want to get into the game and coaching in some capacity. Or it might even be, I want to work in business within sport, but I want to understand how that works. So our business studies pathway can potentially support you with that. So our curriculum is an alternative college provision, which basically will give you UCAS points and all the kind of things you would get from normal college, which opens a lot of horizons for you. But ultimately, you're doing it within an area that you're passionate about and you love. Moving over to our SCL professional side, this is very much around that kind of career development moving forward from that. So whether that means you're going in as a coach and you're completing a sports coach level 4 qualification, following off from your college program, or actually you just want to work in business, a business admin or customer service or management team leader, there's a variety of opportunities that happen within sport. There's a lot of questions that have come in, which I think are great questions, and we will come back to them a bit later on. But I think one of them was around what kind of roles are there within sport, and there's a multitude of roles. So myself included in that, I work in a commercial role. I go out and have the fun job of making friends with people within sport and talking about sport, but I work in sport. There's management roles, there's community development roles. There's so many exciting opportunities to work within sport. Just because you're not playing it, you still have that passion and you can really have a positive impact within that sport environment. So yeah, that was for me, just to give a bit of a wrap around about, as a business, what we want to do is give you all of the opportunities that are available. SCL Active being a really, really great starting point, because you're actually having a real positive impact on children's lives, developing fundamental skills, knowledge and behaviors that will enable you to develop your career, and using those kind of principles within sport, passion, communication, teamwork, will really, really develop your career moving forward as well. So Vic, that's me done. I don't want to waffle on too much. I'll pass back to you.
That's fab. Thank you so much, Sean. So hopefully that's given everyone a little bit of an overview of what we do as a business. So there've been some really, really good questions coming in, so we'll have plenty of time for those. But obviously it's National Work Experience Week. So what we are looking at doing is offering some work experience weeks during the summer holidays with our holiday club provision. So that's really for people who are interested in a career in sport, but specifically kind of coaching and working with children. So we've put together a kind of an idea about what a work experience week might look like with us and the types of things you might learn. It will differ depending on which setting you're in, because it will depend on which school or which setting you're doing your work experience in. There are a lot of people on this call, and we're not going to be able to accommodate everybody, unfortunately. Most of our opportunities, oh, that's very good. Nicole, you've brought in a question there. Most of our holiday clubs operate in the southeast of England at the moment. So what we'll ask you to do, we've got a form that you can fill in that I'll give you the link to at the end, where you can give us your postcode, where you live and where you study, and we'll see if we can match you to one of our education sites. So we won't be able to cater for everybody, but we will be able to give some people a work experience placement and help you to kind of build your career from there. So what we're looking to do with our SCL Active Work Experience Week is to enable you to gain knowledge, so specific knowledge about a career in sport, about coaching, about supporting teaching and learning of children and young people, but also loads of transferable skills. As a careers advisor, I can tell you that there's no such thing as useless work experience. Every bit of work experience you ever do is useful, even if what it teaches you is that you never want to do that job again. That is as useful to know as finding the thing that you want to do forever. That's why work experience is important, because it might be that you've got an idea in your head that there's something that you really want to do, and then you try it out and you find actually it's not, the reality of it is not what you expected. And it's really important to know that before you commit to stuff. So that's the purpose of the Work Experience Week, to let you try it out if it's something that you really are interested in, but also to gain loads of transferable skills, which are those kind of skills that you can take on to any job wherever you go. So some of the things that you'd be learning, so if you think about these in terms of whether these are things you're interested in learning more about and experiencing, as to whether this is the right kind of work experience for you, you would start to understand how to plan for and support children's self-directed play. So that's about how you make learning opportunities available to children without just telling them what to do, to make an environment where they can explore and where they can develop. Understanding how to maintain the safety and security of the environment by conducting risk assessments. So if you're interested in the future in a part-time job in anything to do with working with children or people in general, having that kind of knowledge and experience is going to give you a real edge. Understanding how to safeguard the well-being of children and young people. Safeguarding is a hugely important consideration when you're working with children and young people. And having an understanding of that will help, again, if you're looking at part-time jobs or college courses to do with childcare and work experience. Understanding how to promote positive relationships with and between children by enforcing ground rules for the children to follow, and involving them in establishing those ground rules. It's really important understanding those kind of positive relationships and how to build them. It's transferable to any kind of a work environment, knowing how to interact with people and how to instill positive relationships. So that's going to be useful regardless of what you go on to do. And again, developing positive relationships with not just the children and young people, but also your colleagues, the people you're working with, children's parents and carers in that play environment. So anything that's to do with teamwork and working with people, you can use in any job that you go and do in the future. So that's always going to be really useful. So they're working effectively within a team, developing the service. So, if you come in with amazing ideas, SCL is a company where throughout everything that we do, we're a place where we listen. And it doesn't matter whether you're the CEO or whether you're someone coming into us with work experience. If you have a great idea, and you share that, and we will listen and we will take that on board, because it's all about making the best possible experience for the children and young people that we serve. So if you come in, you've got a great idea, we could take that on board. What a brilliant thing for you to put on your CV and talk about in the future. The other thing is reflecting on your own practice and becoming aware of your own personal development. That's something that's increasingly important. If you're thinking of maybe doing an apprenticeship when you finish school rather than going to college or to sixth form, being able to reflect on your own practice is absolutely vital. And that's thinking, say, come to the end of the day and you're like, okay, so what challenges did I face today? How did I approach that? Could I have done that any differently? And doing that yourself, but also doing that with your colleagues or your manager to help yourself develop. It can be a really difficult thing to do at the start. And it's something that the young people that we work with tend to find really difficult. But if you get a head start by doing that during your work experience, then you're going to be able to take that skill on to whatever you go and do next. So that's kind of our plan. It will be done kind of in conjunction with whichever site it is that you're going to be on. There are limited places. There aren't any entry requirements for the work experience. You don't have to have got particular grades or anything like that. It's more going to be about your location and making sure that we can get you a place that's not going to be miles and miles for you to travel. But also there's a space on the form that you'll fill in for you to just tell us why you're interested in doing work experience with SCL. And that's the thing that will help us to decide whether it's the right thing for you. It doesn't have to be a beautifully crafted piece of writing. We're just looking for your passion and your reasons based on what you've heard today. If you feel like this is somewhere that you would like to come and do some work experience and you think, actually, these are skills that you could do with developing. We've just had a question in saying, what are the key skills you can develop through the work experience? I mean, the things that are on the screen now, those that understanding of working with children, planning their play, planning their activities, teamwork, problem solving, managing conflict. So all of those kind of key employability and transferable skills, being a reflective practitioner. So all of those kind of key skills are what you'd develop through the work experience. So it's very much just about you telling us why you want to come and do work experience with us, what your kind of career ideas are, what you're studying at the moment. Are you already studying sport? Do you already play for a team? Are you interested in working with children? What's made you feel like that? We just want to know about you and why you want to come. Yes, there's a DBS check for working with children. That's something that we will sort out if you're successful in being offered a place for work experience. So yes, because we take safeguarding very seriously for all the children and young people that we work with. So yes, you would need a DBS check, but we can talk about that later on. So that is kind of what we are offering. Just to kind of sum up what we are all about, is the SCL group. Obviously, we're here representing SCL Active, but also that's Blake's area, and then SCL Pro is our kind of apprenticeship provision. That's kind of where Sean sits alongside me, where I work across the whole group, but focused in our education program, working with our 16 to 19-year-olds. So I'll put some links in the chat. These are our other kind of areas. So the SCL education, that's what Sean was talking about earlier, where you can come and study with us rather than going to a college or a sixth form. We're primarily based within sports clubs, so football clubs, rugby clubs, cricket clubs, and our learners play high-level sport, but also complete a level 3 NCFE diploma, which is a bit like a BTEC, equivalent to 3 A levels, and lots of our learners go on to university after that, but also lots go on to apprenticeships, and some go over to America to they get scholarships to go and play soccer over there, and some go into professional football or cricket in the UK. And then our SCL Professional is our apprenticeship arm, where you can do apprenticeships from level 2 to level 4 in things like business admin, customer service, but also in sport related areas. So I will put some links in the chat now so that you can go and have a little look at those. With me just one moment. I'll put those in there. So the links that you've got now in the chat are to our SCL education, which is where you can find out about our study program. So that's the qualifications for 16 to 19-year-olds. Then you've got a link which is to SCL Professional, which is all our sport apprenticeships. And then there's a link there to a Microsoft form. And that's if you're interested in finding out more about apprenticeships specifically, you can fill in that form. And our apprenticeship team will get in touch with you. If you were interested in our study programs, if you go through to the SCL Education website, you can apply on there just like you'd apply to college. So the final thing is we've had a couple of questions where you can sign up or register. If you are watching on a device that is not your phone, then you can scan the QR code. If you are watching this on your phone, there is a form just now in the chat, which is to register your interest specifically in our work experience week. So I'll leave that on the screen for the moment in case you need to go and get a device of some kind. But that is our presentation. That's what we're all about. It's Q&A time.
Brilliant. That was a really exciting presentation. So many opportunities there. Thank you very much. I think we'll just leave our little beautiful faces here with the QR code to give people a chance to take the pictures and carry on with the loads of questions that have come through. Like I said, I've tried to group them together in kind of common themes. And the first ones are kind of very specifically about careers and what it's like to work in the world of sport. So Sam asks, is technology creating new roles in sport?
Oh, yes, absolutely. Sean, you look excited about that one. Do you want to take that? Oh, you're on mute, mate.
Technical issues. Sorry about that. Yeah, technology is becoming more and more important within the world of sport. You've got things such as sports analysis, and if you go through to, I'm talking about football predominantly, but a Cat 1 Academy, everything is technology based. They need to know the analysis, the data, the statistics, just any little advancement within any sport really to give them an edge is huge. So there's a lot more roles being created within technology within sport. There's also technology-based sectors that are using the powers and principles of sport. So esports is a huge area of development. It's a huge market, and esports organizations, as they like to be called, they don't like to be called teams, they like to be called organizations. But esports organizations is very much around working together, using the communication skills, the teamwork, the collaboration, the training and development to become the best within that area as well. So esports is a big area. But yeah, in answer to your question, technology is going to be huge. The technology and advancement of pitch development. There's a couple of questions going about kit development, everything you can think of, marketing, branding, social media. It's huge. So at the moment, I would say the biggest sort of advancements are within the data and the technology around statistics and having accessibility to that. I'd say that's the biggest growth area at the moment within the technology space.
Yeah. So studying, if you're looking at kind of GCSE options, or if you're thinking, if you don't want to study sport, but you know that you want to work in sport, then studying things like computer science, maths, hugely important. Yeah. Kind of those kind of IT to a lesser extent, it's more about the computer science and data science. So kind of those kind of high tech type roles, things like cybersecurity as well, will give you the right kind of skills for that. So yes, definitely, tech is a big deal.
That's really interesting. Dom followed on, is technology a threat to existing jobs?
It's an interesting question, that. I mean, technically, yes. But if you think about it, less of a threat and more of an opportunity, because jobs change. There are jobs that were kind of absolutely necessary. You know, there used to be people whose job it was to knock on people's windows to get them up to go to work. But now that there are alarm clocks and phones, we don't need people to do that anymore. But those people will go and do something different. You know, it's very much about not worrying about the jobs that are disappearing. It's more about how are they changing and how can you be a part of that. And it's a kind of mindset thing.
I think also technology is there as a to increase efficiencies and those kind of things. But again, we all know that data is only good as the input that goes out to get the best output. So you're still going to need that kind of human interaction and intervention to make sure that you're getting the best possible outcome for anything within technology. And just to echo what Vic said, it's really, really important that people don't see it as a threat, but see it as an opportunity and learn about it and understand it so that it can give you the best opportunity to career in a sport in technology, if that's the route that you want to go down.
Yeah,
great. And more broadly, Holly wanted to know, what are the biggest growing sports that you would advise starting a career in?
Esports.
I think you've got to look at within the UK, football has the biggest footfall. It has the biggest attraction, and there's the most participation involved within football, followed closely by rugby and cricket. The esports world is coming. There's a big steam train of esports planning, and people like Lando Norris, a Formula One driver, has got his own esports organization, and football clubs have got their own esports organization, and that is a big growth area. But football, cricket, rugby, tennis, athletics, especially with the things like the Commonwealth Games coming to Birmingham soon, they are still huge sectors, and there's still huge opportunities within those. So but just keep an eye on esports. That would be our advice.
Yeah.
James wanted to know, that's a really nice follow-on question, if you need to know about a particular sport in order to work in that sector.
No, I would say if you're passionate about it, it makes your life a little bit easier, because if you really get behind but we work with some really big, well-known professional sports clubs, some rugby, and actually they don't really like rugby. They're football fans and they're just working in the rugby space, but they love the impact of what they do. And I suppose that comes back to what Blake's team do fantastically well. They could do multi-sports. They deliver a variety of sporting and engaging activities that really the coaches love doing, because they love seeing the kind of the impact it has on the young people, the children. And I suppose if you're passionate about that, it doesn't really matter what space you're in. It's the same with a variety of wherever you work. If you're passionate about what you do on a day-to-day basis, it makes your life a lot easier. And if you want to touch on that, Vic and Blake.
Yeah, I'll just happily add to that. I mean, for me, it's starting, absolutely right, Sean, starting with children at a young age. If we can support development and growth and interest within those areas, then they're more likely to want a career within those key areas of sport. But equally, we only enjoy things. If you think about ourselves as adults, and when we were children, you'll only want to do something if you have fun. So if you have fun with something, you're more likely to then express an interest. And this is something that I feel everybody who is on this call can be part of that and help shape the children's development of particularly of the future.
Yeah. We had an interesting question. You did touch on this a bit, but I think it's really important talking about these roles and passion, because Don was asking what kind of business roles can you do in sport, and I think that kind of is coming back to what you're saying about understanding the sector or having a passion for something, but you don't have to be a sports star, do you?
No, you don't. You really don't. It's. I mean, like I sort of touched on earlier, sport is, and like Sean said, sport is a huge sector in the UK and in the world. So it's business driven. It's business, and so pretty much any job that you can do in any business, you can do within a sport business. And as Sean said, you don't have to have that sport background, but when you're talking about your passion, when you're in a job interview and they're saying, why do you want to work here? If you can talk about your passion for sport and for, how the impact that can have on people's lives, then you're probably more likely to get the job, because you're going to be talking about it more passionately. But it's not an absolute given. It's not an absolute necessity.
Yeah. And if you look at any sport organization, you've got your kind of senior leadership team. So your operational directors, your financial directors, your managing directors. And then as you filter down, the roles are the same with any organization. You're going to have your back office staff that are fundamental to any business running, that are the administrators, the payroll assistants, the HR managers, all of those kind of roles that you'd find in an organization. You also then, the good thing about sport is a lot of them will have a charitable organization, and they have something called a CSR responsibility, which is a corporate social responsibility, where they go out within the community to increase participation and get people active and healthy. They all have their kind of specific agendas within the sports sector that they play in. So there's community development roles, there might be project-based roles. There's so many opportunities. And I think what we're trying to do as an organization is very much open the eyes of the world and saying, actually, yeah, there's 11 players on a pitch or there's 15 players on a pitch, but without the people in the background, they ain't going to be on the pitch. You need the kitman, you need the groundskeeper, you need the coaching staff, you need the chefs that are going to make them their food, you need the sports nutritionists to make sure that they're at their athletic peak. So it's really, really important that these roles around sport are fulfilled with really talented young people that are passionate about the sector. So, yeah.
Thank you. We've got Nick popping up with quite a lot of interesting questions, and we can't answer all of them, Nick, but I do, think he touched on about inclusivity and representation, and what's the general thoughts and feels and approach, and how's that going forward?
I mean, in terms of SCL as an organisation, I think was it Nick who mentioned something about inclusivity for learners with a disability?
We had a couple of questions. Bree also asked, how do you accommodate with people with disability?
Yes, I see. Yeah. So yeah, absolutely. So both on our application forms, if you're applying for an apprenticeship or a study program, and I've also included it on the register interest for our work experience, there is a space to say how we can support you. So as an organisation, from personal experience as someone with a disability, like it's very inclusive, and it's a very open environment where you can say what you need and what support you need. So that's very much so. In terms of minority representation, the sport and football in particular, obviously it's been very high profile, and that's something that we take very seriously in terms of our approach to everything that we do. From my perspective as group careers leader, when we're looking at kind of progression opportunities for our learners, there are lots of initiatives out there, particularly with universities. That's the background that I came from before I worked here, working in widening participation in universities. So I've got a really good understanding of the types of support and help that aims to narrow the gaps between university and progression between marginalised groups and those groups who are historically more privileged. So that's something that definitely we are very much aware of.
Yeah, and I think just to touch on that, within the sports space, and it is high profile, and there's when I talk about this community trust element or the foundation, the charitable organisations within any sports club, very much high on their agenda is around inclusivity, accessibility, working within all range of communities. So they do things from walking football, they have the disability programs that they run. So we kind of leverage the partnerships that we work to really support that CSR responsibility and work with them around kind of national governing body agendas to make sure that we are achieving that as a business ourselves. And I think we embed that within everything we do. And as part of the education we talk about, I think there was a comment about religion, and we make sure that British values and kind of the key factors are embedded within our kind of progress coach reviews and everything like that, don't we, Vic? So we try and embed that with everything that we do as a business as well, so that people understand from a young age all the way through to being an adult. So unfortunately, it's something that we needs to be happening more. We need to continue to do more about it, and it will continue to happen, but we just have to work with everybody to make sure that we are everybody's achieving that goal.
Yeah. I hope that answers your questions.
Great. We had kind of lots of questions that's touched on this, but I thought I might try to encompass it in one. Obviously, this program's for Work Experience Week and what your opportunities there, but there has been a mention of careers, progression, apprenticeships, and also we just had a question here about getting a degree. So obviously that can't pinned down to every pathway, because every pathway is going to be different type of job, but maybe a kind of a broad sense of what, you know, qualification pathways could look like.
Yeah, I mean, I'm looking at the question from Kyle about, do you need a degree to progress to higher roles in sport? The answer is no. You don't have to have a degree to progress to higher level roles in sport. It depends which area of sport. So, you know, those kind of business roles that you can do, there are loads of amazing degree apprenticeships that you can do, and higher apprenticeships as well that you can do after you've done level 3, say with us, or at a college or sixth form, that you can progress on through an apprenticeship route. If it's within coaching, then we offer a level 4 coaching apprenticeship, which that's the level that you need to go in at, and you can progress through from there. There are also, you know, routes through grassroots organizations as a player, moving up that way. If you're looking at kind of professional roles that requires a professional accreditation, so I'm thinking about physiotherapy, sports rehabilitation, nutrition, dietitian, sports psychology, then yes, you do need a degree. It's not necessarily about the degree itself, it's about the professional accreditation that comes with that enables you to practice as, in many cases, a healthcare professional. So it's the same as needing to get a degree to become a nurse or a podiatrist, or, you know. So in those senses, yes, you do. There are some apprenticeship routes coming on board for kind of NHS roles. They're in the pipeline and have been for a while. I'm keeping an eye on that, and as group careers leader, that's part of my role to look at that landscape in terms of progression for our learners and apprentices and what they can go on to. But at the moment, if it's a kind of health related profession, then yes, you need a degree. But for anything that's kind of coaching, playing, business, then you don't need to. There are also some really innovative programs that we're kind of linking some of our learners into, where you can play professionally and do a degree on the side. There's an organisation that's set up to do that. So for our elite players who do get signed at the end of their level 3, if they want to continue learning, and particularly with that view in the future of, you might play for 10, 15 years and then you might get injured, or you might decide you don't want to do it anymore, or just your career naturally comes to an end, then you've got kind of something to fall back on. So yeah, the answer is, in short, it depends. But if you came to SCL, then that's something that it's my job to support you with. Anything to add on there, Sean?
Not really. I think the summary at the end there. I think it really depends on what it is you want to do. And there's another question, I believe, from Megan about volunteering in a good way. Any experience of actually doing something to me gives you a bit like me. When I was 16, I didn't have a clue what I wanted to do. If I'm honest, I got told at school I'm going to be a physiotherapist, I'm going to make it as a professional footballer. I did neither. And then I had to try things to see what I was really passionate about. Thankfully, I've fallen back into the world of sport. But again, mine's in a commercial route, so it really depends. I've not got a degree, but I've done apprenticeships myself, so I've gone down that route. I didn't go to the university route. I'm not saying that's the right route or the wrong route. It's basically giving you the opportunity to any volunteering you can do and work experience that you can get. That gives you, actually, that I really want to do that. That's what I'm really interested in. Or actually, I've tried it. That's not what I want to do. I would say go for it. Obviously, ultimately, you want to make sure that you're making the right career decisions, but sometimes you get at this stage and you might change at that stage. So really, it depends on you as an individual. Just go and research, go and find out what you're passionate about, go and look, go speak to people, come speak to us, and we can obviously direct you to some people that we can potentially get some information for you. But there's a lot of opportunities out there which can be quite daunting at times, and it's about really self-reflecting on yourself and seeing what it is you want to do. And I think volunteering is a great way to do that and do some work experience, etc.
Absolutely. And I think it's kind of a neat segue into kind of my sort of signature spiel, which is that you don't have to decide now what you're going to do forever. In fact, you never have to decide what you want to do forever, because as we've talked about, technology comes along, things change, your personal circumstances change, your preferences change, and you gain more experience, which helps you reflect on yourself and what you enjoy. So don't get too bogged down or stressed about kind of planning everything in the future. It's absolutely okay to go with what you're really passionate about and what you love now, and seeing where that takes you, and just being really conscious of reflecting on that and what you've learned about it, and what opportunities are out there. It's about self-awareness and opportunity awareness, and just kind of staying in touch with the things that you're interested in.
And just to touch on that, link it back to SCL Active, and Blake, you'll support this as well. We've had some people that have come into SCL Active and started very much coming into work experience as a casual coach, came on full time, and now they're kind of our curriculum leaders within our education business. They've actually gone through and actually completely changed their direction. I want to be a coach, done the coaching, engaged with the young people, really enjoyed that, progressed their career, and actually took a side step to go into a kind of teaching role where they completed a level 5 diploma in education and training, and now they teach to post-16 education. So there's so many similarities between coaching and teaching about engaging, planning, delivery, evaluation. So it really worked in that way for us, Blake, didn't it? Where we've taken some really talented young people and they've
just to re-echo some of the points you're going on about volunteering and that, and I absolutely would agree. Find out what your gut feeling is around your passion, what interests you, what sport you'd like to do. You can do that in a lot of volunteering roles. Us, particularly at SCL Active, we'll be delighted to do that. And then, of course, with a lot of that, it will lead to casual work. And casual work can then give you the interest, and you try something out that you may be really interested in, passionate about. Some of our regional business managers, and as Sean said, into the education side of the business, they actually started as a work experience or a volunteer. So if you really do want a career in sport, which of course, you'll be interested in as part of this, then I encourage you to take that passion that you have and really come and speak to us, because there is so many opportunities out there that we can help support you with moving forwards in your career.
Brilliant. We're coming towards the end of the session, and there were some practical questions that were asked about the work experience. Ryan wanted to know, will you be offering any online work experience or downloadable resources?
We won't be offering any online work experience, just because of the nature of how we operate, and we kind of don't have the resources at the moment. But what I'm going to put in the chat for you is some resources that I use with our learners, which is from Careers in Sport. So they offer some good stuff on there. So I've put a link to that in the chat for you.
Great. And Vincent wanted to know, are there any entry requirements for work experience?
No, just passion.
Well, with the DBS, we obviously, because we're working with children and safeguarding, the DBS would have to be completed first. But other than that, no.
Yeah, we did have Nick ask specifically about the DBS checks, but you guys will help them do that when they get on board. Brilliant. I know we've answered this a few times already, but if you wouldn't mind popping in the chat again, David asked again, where can I sign up or register? Just so it comes at the top of the chat. And for those of you who are watching this on recording, you obviously can't see the chat, but you can see the QR code. So have a think on that, and that will help you. And we had just one question from, I'm pretty sure was a teacher, asked, do you visit schools to inform about careers in sports?
That is something that we can do, yes. So if you wanted, is that something that you're looking at, Blake?
Yeah, so I was about to say, from our side of things, it's something we do. We work across circa 300 schools in the south of England, and 150 with strong multifaceted partnerships. And what I mean by that is we do wraparound childcare, the sports, and then the activities provision. It's something that we do offer as part of our account management meetings that we have, and we offer this to the head teacher and business manager. However, I think what we could probably take from this as well, there could be a separate campaign that we could push out to some school partners within the space that could make them more aware of this as well.
We have in the past, and we need to be better. I think prior to COVID and the world slightly changing, we have come out and done presentations at the school on behalf of the school to talk a bit like around careers in sport. Obviously, with the pandemic, that's not been we haven't been doing it as much, but it's certainly something if schools are interested, Blake, I'm sure that we, between the team, could obviously have some conversations with the schools around how we could do that, whether that's kind of an online forum, a bit like we've done today, potentially. But there's opportunity there to pick that up further.
I'll put my email address in the chat.
Yes, great. Thank you. I was just going to ask if you put something in so they can get in touch with you for all the teachers out there. And thank you very much for the teachers who are joining us. We have a whole week of National Work Experience Week events. Today's just one brilliant example of the opportunities that are out there. And I know particularly for the teachers, it can be challenged finding these experiences for young people. So thank you very much for joining us. Before we go, would your team like to have any sort of roundup or parting words?
I think really from our perspective, thank you so much for watching and for all of the great questions, for the engagement. It's we're all always really excited about sport and what we do and the organisation that we work for. So it's just been really nice to be able to share that. And I hope that we've been able to answer all of your questions. My email address is in the chat. I'm the group careers leader. So if it's anything careers related, do feel free to get in touch. And I'll kind of field that out to whoever is most appropriate. Any final words from you, Sean and Blake?
Just to reiterate, thank you very much for taking your time. I know it's quite a lot of information to take away and digest, but as we always say, just take that time to reflect. If this is a route you want to come down, come and speak to us. We will give you some guidance, and work experience will be a great opportunity to get a real taste for what we do in the sport space. Blake?
Yeah, I'd just like to re-echo exactly the same what my colleagues have said. Thanks for watching. I hope you really enjoyed us giving you some ideas of the opportunities that are available in sport and how you can do that. But please also think about your passion that you have. You'll have an inner drive passion that you really want to do, and whether that's working with children, helping shape their careers and lives, and that communication piece, or actually you're just looking to try something new. I really do recommend that you get in touch with us and give these things a go. It's only going to strengthen your personal career pathway in terms of how you can then lean into or move into, potentially a full-time job. And we'd love to hear from you.
Great. Excellent. What a great session. Thank you very much, everyone who joined us. Like I said, the session will be recorded and available on demand, but there have been lots of links in the chat. So this is your last opportunity to quickly click on those now if you want to follow up straight after the presentation. Thank you again, everybody from SCL, and hopefully we'll see more of you in the audience again later in the week. Take care. Thanks, then. Everyone. Bye now.
Bye.
Thanks, guys.
Cheers.
Bye-bye.